Imagine burning the midnight oil for years, taking massive education loans, crossing every hurdle under the sun just to enter Silicon Valley. And then, almost out of the blue, a country turns around and says, "We want our jobs back." That, in a nutshell, is the beating heart of America's America First visa policy. For millions of Asians, Europeans, especially IT employees, students, engineers, and H1B dreamers, this policy turned the table completely on how America views foreign workers. For decades, the United States was seen as the land where opportunity knocked for global talent. But suddenly, the mood changed. The winds shifted, and immigration became a political power keg. But here is the million-dollar question. Was this policy genuinely necessary to protect American workers? Or was it a political ace up the sleeve during economic anxiety? And more importantly, who actually comes out ahead? Who ends up drawing the short straw? And has America walked down this road ever before? The America First visa policy is closely tied to Donald Trump and his immigration policy. At its core, the idea was crystal clear. American jobs should go to Americans first. Simple slogan, but massive consequences. This policy primarily targeted H1B work visas, outsourcing companies, temporary foreign workers, and immigration pathways used by companies to hire global talent. The biggest elephant in the room was the H1B visa system. For years, many American politicians argued that corporations were bending over backwards to hire cheaper foreign labor while local workers were left out in the cold. Trump stepped into that frustration and struck while the iron was hot. The message resonated deeply with many working class Americans who felt the economic playing field had titled against them. The H1B visa allows US companies to temporarily hire skilled foreign professionals, mainly in industries like software, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, engineering, finance, and healthcare. And when it comes to H1B visas, India is head and the shoulders above most countries. A massive percentage of H1B workers are Indians employed in tech companies, consulting firms, outsourcing giants, and multinational corporations. For decades, this system became a golden ticket for skilled Indian professionals dreaming of working in America. But here is where the plot thickens. The visa itself is not new. The H1B framework has existed for decades and evolved through multi-immigration reforms approved by US Congress over many years. In other words, this wasn't built overnight. It was a system deeply woven into America's modern tech economy. This is where things truly came to a head. Many Americans began believing that companies were replacing local workers with cheaper foreign labor. Wages were being driven down. Outsourcing firms were finding loopholes, and American graduates were getting the short end of the stick. Then came several high-profile layoffs that ended the fuel to the fire. Stories emerged claiming that some American employees were allegedly forced to train their foreign replacements before being shown the door. Whether every story was fully accurate or not almost became beside the point. Public anger snowballed, and politically, that anger became low-hanging fruit. Trump seized the moment masterfully. In 2017, he signed the famous Buy American and Hire American executive order that became the cornerstone of the America First visa approach. The message was loud and clear. America should stop rolling out the red carpet for companies abusing immigration loopholes. H1B became much harder. Almost overnight, the screws tightened. The government increased scrutiny, document verification, requests for evidence, rejection rates, and compliance checks. Even genuine applicants suddenly found themselves jumping through hoops. Earlier approvals were comparatively smoother for many firms, but after these reforms, applications faced microscopic examination. Job roles were scrutinized intensely. Salary structures were reviewed carefully, and outsourcing-heavy business models found themselves under the microscope. The American dream suddenly felt like walking on a thin ice. Trump repeatedly argued H1B visas should go only to the best and highest paid talent. That statement changed the entire philosophy of the visa debate. The administration wanted visas to prioritize elite AI specialists, advanced STEM researchers, highly paid engineers, and rare technical experts instead of large-scale outsourcing labor. America essentially saying, if foreign workers are coming here, they must bring something extraordinary to the table. This marked as a dramatic shift. The old model focused heavily on volume, the new approach focused on premium talent. America no longer wanted to cast a wide net. It wanted the cream of the crop. Then things escalated even further. One controversial proposal introduced the idea of an enormous employer payment, reportedly around 100,000 for certain new H-1B entries. That sent shockwave through the tech industry. Critics immediately argued that startups could never foot the bill. Smaller companies would be the priced out, and innovation could take a serious hit. Business groups were up in arms. Several organizations challenged the parts of these restrictions legally, arguing the government was moving the goalposts too aggressively. For many companies, it felt like the rug was being pulled out from under them. Now, this is where many people get their wires crossed. A lot of people assume Congress passed one giant immigration law creating all these changes. That is not entirely true. A huge portion of the America First visa push happened through executive orders, presidential proclamations, USCIS policy memos, agency-level interpretations, and administrative tightening. In plain English, the president used executive authority to reinterpret and enforce existing laws more aggressively. However, some lawmakers also introduced bills supporting stricter H-1B reforms, including American Jobs First Act of 2017, American Jobs First Act of 2020. But many proposals never fully crossed the finish line as permanent law. That's why these policies often became tangled in lawsuits, court battles, reversals, and legal uncertainty. One administration tightened rules, another softened them. The pendulum kept swinging. American workers. This is the strongest arguments supporters make. They believe fewer foreign workers means more local opportunities. Wages could increase and outsourcing abuse gets curbed. Many Americans felt corporations were cutting corners by using foreign labor mainly to save costs. Stricter rules simply level the playing field. Supporters argue a country should not throw its own citizens under the bus. And politically, the message struck a chord. Politicians, immigration has always been a political hot potato in America. During the times of unemployment, inflation, layoffs, and wage anxiety, immigration restrictions became politically powerful. Hire American became more than policy. It became a rallying cry. And during elections, that message can move mountains. Ironically, some foreign workers may actually benefit. Why? Because if America cuts down mass low-cost hiring, then truly elite specialists become even more valuable. That includes AI researchers, semiconductor experts, cybersecurity specialists, and cutting-edge engineers. America may want fewer foreign workers overall, but it still desperately wants world-class talent. This is the catch 2022 at the heart of this entire debate. Asian and European IT workers. This group felt the heat the most, especially middle-level software professionals, consulting-based H-1B applicants, and outsourcing employees. Many suddenly faced delays, fear, uncertainty, RFEs, and rising rejection risks. For thousands of families, long-term life plans were suddenly hanging by a thread. Major IT services companies rely heavily on on-site US staffing models. America First policies directly hit that business structure where it hurts most, because US authorities believed some firms were using visas more as a cost-cutting mechanism than for rare expertise. Big technology firms argued that America does not produce enough STEM graduates. Innovation depends heavily on global talent, and restricting immigration weakens competitiveness. Companies like Google, Microsoft, Meta depend enormously on skilled immigrants. Even major America's business groups challenged some restrictions legally. Their argument was straightforward. If America shuts the door too aggressively, talent will simply go elsewhere. And In today's world, talent has become worth its weight in gold. This is where opinions split right down the middle. The arguments supporting it. Supporters insist the visa abuse did exist, outsourcing loopholes were real, wage suppression happened, and citizens deserve priority in their own country. Their core argument is immigration should complement American workers, not replace them. And truth be told, some concerns were not entirely baseless. Certain outsourcing practices genuinely raised questions about fairness. Critics argue something equally powerful. They say America became a global powerhouse precisely because it welcomed talent from every corner of the world. According to them, innovation thrives on immigration. Startups need global expertise, and restrictions can backfire badly. Some companies even shifted hiring outside America entirely rather than hiring locally. So critics warn that overplaying this hand could eventually become penny wise and pound foolish, because in the race of artificial intelligence, chips, and deep technology, talent is everything. Absolutely. America has tightened immigration repeatedly throughout history during economic downturns, wars, job crises, and national anxiety. Examples include immigration quotas in the early 1900s, tighter visa rules after 9/11, restrictions during recessions, and earlier H-1B reforms in 1998, 2000 and 2004. So this was not exactly uncharted territory. However, the Trump era version was far more public, politically charged, and emotionally driven. It pushed immigration debates front and center like never before. Here is the irony hiding in plain sight. Even while saying hire Americans first, America still depends heavily on immigrants, especially in areas like artificial intelligence, semiconductor manufacturing, medicine, scientific research, engineering, and deep tech innovation. That is the paradox. America wants fewer cheap replacement workers but still wants the sharpest minds on earth. So the real battle is not immigrants versus no immigrants. The real battle is which immigrants should America prioritize. And that debate is far from over. For some Americans, this policy feels like protection. For many immigrants, it feels like walking a tightrope. For politicians, it became a powerful campaign weapon. But for the rest of the world, it exposed something much larger. In today's global economy, talent itself has become geopolitical. Countries are no longer fighting only over land, oil, or military power. They are competing fiercely for engineers, coders, scientists, innovators, and technological dominance. And America's visa policies have now become one more battlefield in the global contest. Because in 21st century, the country that wins the war for talent may ultimately hold all the cards.